the Sounds of Stadia podcast, episode number 59. You're joining myself, Chris, one of your hosts for what is the longest running Stadia podcast this side of Google Maps. I'm joined once again by my lovely co-host, the techie teacher himself. To my left, your right, my right, your left. Mr. Tom joins us once again.
What's up? How we doing? Just absolutely raging today. I've been stuck so much on this one boss on Sekiro, and I just need to find that little bit of extra time to beat it. That game. Love it, but hate it. You know what that's like.
It's not a boss fight on Monster Boy, though, and I'll be definitely getting to that one. And below him, as always, the man of many pixels with the guitars on the wall, Mr. Richie. How are you doing?
My hangover isn't as bad as I was expecting. I was going to say hoping there. I wasn't hoping for a bad one. I was hoping to not have one, but I'm good.
You're good. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, everybody who is joining us this week for episode number 59. We do round up, if you're new to the show, all of these Stadia and gaming news of the week into a small digital package for your listening or viewing pleasure. If you're not new to the channel, feel free to like the video down below and subscribe. Share with your friends so we can help grow the channel and help support us as we delve into almost the second year of Stadia, gentlemen. We are on the horizon of on the cusp of the horizon. Yeah, certainly. It's still off in the distance slightly. We can't quite grab it, and we don't really know what it's going to consist of yet. But we are mere days away now from the. We presume it's going to be a Stadia Connect because we haven't had one yet, and we're getting awfully close to December.
Yeah,
could be 3 days of good stuff. And by 3 days of good stuff, I mean 5 minutes per day.
15 minutes of good stuff. 15 minutes of good stuff.
I kid.
Yeah.
But if you are new to the show, of course, we basically talk about all things Stadia. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening across podcast services and the usual YouTube feeds. If you want to support the channel a little bit more, remember we do have a Patreon website, which many of you do. Many of you write in with our questions, talk to us all the time, interact, and get some exclusive content slightly early. So from as little as $1 or 79 pence, give or take tax, whatever the hell that works out in your country, you can head over to patreon.com/soundsofstadia and show us that extra little bit of support, which gets Richie's hangover out of bed on the morning to follow him around all day. Because that's how it works. So before we get into that, gentlemen, little bit of conversation. I think let's talk about games. That's what we love doing. And the best thing about Stadia right now is it is hell on fire with games right now. Big games, big titles, thick and fast. So much so the news this week actually links in with a lot of games that are coming. Tom, I think we were supposed to talk about... I intended to talk about this last week, but you mentioned it a little bit there. Clearly you're playing Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. How are you finding it?
It's the only game I am playing at the moment as well. So I missed it the first time round. Game of the year 2018 or 2018? Or was that God of War?
That was God of War.
Regardless. Then it must have been 2019.
2019, yeah.
Sekiro, Control,
absolutely.
I think, yeah.
Yes, that's right. So 2019 got Game of the Year. Fantastic game if you've never played it before. It is one of those insanely hard difficulty games by From Software. Set in sort of like a fantasy feudal Japan, really. You play as a shinobi called Sekiro. I am loving that game right now. Like, it's actually probably now my favorite of the From Software games, so like the Soulsborne related series. I'm just really enjoying the lore. I'm loving the environment, everything about it. But I am stuck right now on this damn dirty 8 boss, and I just need to find a way to get past it because it is literally, I cannot progress with the game past this point. I cannot do any more in the game until I beat this mother.
Don't you hate it when that happens? Boss fights.
See, I was always interested in Sekiro because I think I love the setting, but it's the From Software tag, and it's like I just find the games frustrating and not fun. So like,
it's high risk, high reward. It's one of these games that you get so frustrated at it, but when you finally just manage to get that last hit off on a boss, you just feel such a sense of satisfaction. And I think because it's that almost like ultra nightmare difficulty of the whole sort of franchise, really, or the whole sort of genre that they set, that it just adds to that extra sort of like adrenaline rush that you get when you finally get it. So
I think it's one that if it came on Pro, I'd definitely give it a go. But
we got quite a good launch price though for it, didn't we?
It was incredible. $32.49, I think it was with Pro.
And
I think it's very well priced, but for a game you're not expecting to enjoy.
Well, bear in mind as well, it is the Game of the Year edition as well, so it comes with all of the patches, the updates, all of the content that's featured since the original game came out as well. So it dropped pretty much, I think it was day and date with the Game of the Year edition, or at least the same week of that it did on every other platform too. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I've seen loads of people in the community stressing about it, shouting about it, but more importantly, enjoying it, and it is great to see it. Interesting tidbit I noticed as well. Tidbit, I said titbit again for some reason. Interesting tidbit for that is it wasn't published by Activision. It was published by I've already forgot.
It was self-published.
Self-published,
yes,
from software. Yeah. I think that's why it's because they're called From Software. My brain goes, well, that's not the name of a company. That's just made from software. What's the name? But yeah, From Software, which it leans back into like, do Activision actually have any bearing on Stadia whatsoever? Then, if they're self-publishing, that might have an indication that they don't give a shit still. Which we've knew
I'd say they're probably just neutral. They're probably just apathetic to the platform.
Just crack on and port it.
We'll keep an eye on the platform. Yeah, if you want to port this over, be our guest. You can take the cost to get it over there, and we will just see what happens.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Watch with bated breath, hopefully. But it's great to see, like you said, Tom, a Game of the Year edition coming over. Richie, how about yourself? What have you been playing this last week?
I did play a bit of FarCry. But I must admit, the entirety of my playthrough of FarCry at the moment is on our YouTube channel. At my first look, I've only played like literally that 1 hour, and then I went back to Baldur's Gate.
Right.
Oh, now I think we should address something as well, Richie. When you played FarCry, because there was some conversation that also went on with people in the audience. There was two different versions. Now, most of us jumped onto the ultimate version, but Tom, you thought it was thoroughly enjoyable as well. It reached a point in the game, very early on, by the way, probably 5 minutes into the intro, where there was a particular AI character that it was almost like a boss fight, Richie. You couldn't defeat them in any way, shape or form.
I didn't realise Far Cry had enemies that could teleport.
It's an unknown quantity in the Far Cry games, but Far Cry 5 went totally out there with X-Men mutants and Nightcrawler abilities and such. But I
eventually just ran away.
Yeah, I had. There's a part. So the video is playing below, but there is a really funny part where you reach the initial first cabin where I think they teach you how to basically pick up weapons, use guns, and stealth kill people. And you try stealth killing the guy, and he just glitches out of the world and reappears and spots you. And I think the funniest thing is the noise that comes with them being alerted to you. Kicks up, like it loops over and over again, and you try and run away and hide in the cabin, and he follows you in, then just disappears. And it's one of I would be honestly raging. It's so funny.
That first kill, I took him down. It's like perfect stealth kill. I was like, "Where's his body?" Because I was about to loot him. Turned around, and it's like, "Oh crap!" I originally thought like there's a second guy there. I just didn't see. I was like, "Nope, it was the same guy." So I shot that guy, and he teleported away. It's like, "What's going on?"
I think my favorite part of watching that clip back as well is when Richie goes, I swore I saw a blood spatter that time. He must be dead this time. And then he just walks around the corner once again. Oh, we love glitches like that, don't we?
Oh, it was so funny. Man. We'll have to rebrand.
Not even Branch could help me.
Yeah,
we need the Benny Hill music to kick in with that as well.
Yeah, if you've not checked that out, head on over because glitches can be funny at the best of times. Falling through the world, enemies like flying off into the other end of the room. It's so funny, but it's just the moment when you realise that it's a glitch and it's not just a different guy showing up time and time again. You've got to laugh at it. And we've seen a few people having issues with. We think it's the base version of the game.
Yes.
And if you buy the Ultimate Edition, it seems to run smoother. But we've not had any official response from Ubisoft yet. But if you're having trouble with the base one, refund it and probably pay the £3 extra for the Ultimate one. Seems to be the easiest fix right now.
I would say at this point as well, for anyone who is sitting on the fence about buying the Far Cry games as well, just bear in mind that Ubisoft Plus is around the corner imminently. At some point by the end of this year, we're going to have it on Stadia. So if you're not quite sure at this point, then maybe you just want to hold out for that. I don't know. I think we've all just chipped in and bought it though, because I mean, at that price, it's a steal, really.
Yeah, it really is. As someone who's finished the game to completion, bar a few of the zombie things on the DLC. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and jumping back into the initial opening, I forgot how crazy the initial opening to this game is. It's so in your face because it's first person.
I was
anyway.
Edge the whole time.
But, it really sets a really good kind of precedence for what the rest of the game is and the world you find yourself in, and it's scary, I think, because it's something that could realistically happen. Like there's parts of the world that are so cut off that they're not governed that much, and it's crazy cult.
The villains quite well. I could see how this could be a thing.
Yeah. Now, what I did want to ask you, Richie, is did you know in the initial opening you get an option to? It's kind of not spoilers because it's part of the story, I guess.
Yeah.
But there is a part when you have to arrest the antagonist. You have to put the cuffs on him. Yeah. Do you know if you refuse to cuff him, the game ends and it goes to the credits, and you basically walk out?
I'm sure I've heard of that before when it first came out in 2018.
Yeah.
But I didn't try it.
Well, the game would end, and it's quite short.
Isn't that like a recurring theme in like all Far Cry games?
It is, yeah. You basically have an option early on to choose not so much the righteous path, but the one that would save your life.
Game.
And yeah, he thanks you or whatever, and it does back. I think Far Cry 4 was maybe the first one to do it with Pagan Min.
Yeah.
Potentially as well, but it's really funny that it just does end and cut to the credits. And it's like, I'd be curious. Imagine if someone did that and thought that was the full game, having paid full price, like £60 markup, and then go, that's it. That can't be it. Surely not. But yeah, so fun, and the game's great. And I think we discussed it on Thursday's stream that the arcade mode is loads of fun as well, because it's just people making their own crazy maps. And then there is also the DLC, which if you do buy the Ultimate Pack, there's Vietnam, there's zombies, and there is a mission to Mars as well with alien type arachnids similar to Starship Troopers. So loads of fun to be had, and I'm excited to get stuck into it a little bit more, because that game runs beautifully, by the way. I played it on my tablet and my TV, and I forgot how gorgeous like sun-baked Montana can look.
I think I need to make a confession. I think my render settings were wrong in my video encoder. I think I accidentally rendered it out at 30 frames per second instead of 60. Because launching back, it doesn't look as smooth as it felt to play.
A little bit choppy.
Right, okay, so
I
you think
that might be my fault.
Interesting.
But
choppy.
I was in my defense, it was like already the evening. Like it dropped at like 5 o'clock in the evening. I wasn't planning to make it. I wasn't knowing it was coming. I jumped straight in, and my hard drive was having some issues because one of my old external hard drives. So it was an absolute nightmare to get that published.
Well, you did it, and it's doing
really,
really well.
Yeah.
So well done. And myself, I've been playing some more Monster Boy for you lovely people out there.
How's that going, Chris?
I do feel I'm really close to the end now. I must be.
You are very close now.
Which I think is what's spurring me on, alongside the amazing support of the people who do watch my Let's Play series every week. But this boss fight, for those who haven't checked it out yet, there's essentially a crazy amount of stuff happens in this boss fight. You walk between about 5 different variations of room type and different enemy attack styles and processes around, which they're not too bad to figure out, but the worst part is to move the fight along to kind of the next stage. In amongst the room, there's a tiny little pivot point which one of your characters can control to rotate the whole map around, like flips it on its head. And it's not visible, nothing points out to you, and with everything else hectic going on, it's like in the middle. I can't like trying to put it into another game. Like Tom, if you were playing Sekiro and you were fighting that big dirty ape, and the thing you had to do to defeat the monkey was like there was just a tiny little hook you had to grapple onto up on a mountaintop somewhere, in and amongst trying to dodge this massive behemoth, and there's nothing highlights it, no help comment pops up and says try this out, nothing reminds you've got a grapple feature in amongst your arsenal of inventory and stuff. Honestly, I'm just tearing my hair out, and I honestly feel like without looking at the internet, did you look for help when you did that? Like when you got played through, surely.
You're talking about the Naboo fight, yeah?
Yeah.
I don't remember what I did. I do remember spending quite a lot of time on that boss, though.
I do
remember spending quite a bit of time.
Trial and error.
I just can't comprehend that anyone would think to go back to that. Because bear in mind, you're shown that ability like right at the beginning of the game, and you use it very rarely throughout, like past a certain segment. So to reach arguably one of probably the final boss fights, and it reintroduces it like at the 95th% of the boss fight, it just doesn't make sense, and that's frustrating.
Why it's like, as you're getting towards the end of the game, it's like, remember all the different things you've learned on your way.
See, that would be fine if it would give some kind of indication or highlight or say, oh, remember this ability, but it doesn't hold your hand at all. It's
have it stand out a bit more.
Yeah, it just But anyway, go check it out.
I hate to see it.
Go check it out. I did get past it, but go check it out because it's frustrating and enjoyable at the same time. But I can see the light at the end of the tunnel now. We will get there. Part
Good.
20 is going up next week. Part 20. So
Yeah.
it's almost a day's worth of content just from that game alone. So yes, I'll be happy when we can move on from it. I might just end now. Imagine that. Imagine if I just stop playing now. Sorry everyone.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. I give up.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't.
You're not
I
allowed
couldn't
to.
do
We
that.
still need to record the second half of what's coming next.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. Another thing. But anyway, we've talked about what we're playing. We've talked about the games. Let's get into the main part of the show. We'll start with the retcon ritual a little bit, Richie. You did mention there about the FarCry encoder glitch thing, but there was something from last week in relation to Monster Boy where we discussed the Ocarina that we presumed was a reference to Zelda, and since then, as the game actually goes on, you realise it's not. But do you want to expand on that a bit?
In our defence, an Ocarina that seemed to take you back through time, reference Ocarina of Time, I think was a fairly reasonable assumption, considering Ocarina of Time is one of the most beloved games of all time. But I'm just going to quote directly, digging a bit on the internet about the Ocarina thing, I've discovered that the Ocarina, the name Shion, and the 8-bit environment are references to a previous game called Wonder Boy 5, Wonder Boy in Monster World. It has nothing to do with Zelda and her Ocarina. Credit goes to GS and SDS on a Steam discussion, and that was from Ignacio Carrera Gonzalez. So thank you, Ignacio.
Thank you for keeping
us right.
Indeed. And
Thank you very much.
yeah, the game, as it does go on, there is a few references I do feel to older Monster Boy games, but having not played them, I presume if you're a long-time fan of the series, it must be like an amazing throwback to see that.
Oh my god, I remember when I played Wonder Boy 5.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's what everyone...
beloved series.
I mean, they've made it this far, so clearly some people...
I mean, yeah, clearly.
And I do
Wonder
feel...
Boy 5 over at Stadia, so Chris can play us.
No, I'm not falling in this trap where I'm the go-to guy for Monster Boy playthroughs. I'd love to watch one of yous play through it, to be fair. If we ever do a 24-hour stream, I'd love for you two to just hand the controller back and forth and try and figure it out. But
right.
Anyway,
I think Celeste might work better for that.
Yeah, we do have some Stadia news for you all this week, albeit it's been a quieter week. We still have a great show lined up for you all. So let's get into it, Tom. Let's get into it.
The super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka the news.
The news. I forgot to say it for some reason because I was focusing on the animation, but the news. That's how it goes. Like I said, we had a slightly quieter week this week, but we did have some interesting gaming news. We've got some new features going live, and more importantly, games, because that's what we're all about. Games is what you love to see. And first up, we've already alluded to it a little bit, but out of nowhere, was it Tuesday we got the FarCry games drop?
It was, yeah. So we had the Tuesday morning, we saw the ESRB and PEGI ratings drop for Far Cry 5 and Far Cry New Dawn. Later that day, blog post comes out, and guess what?
It's there.
We've got them.
Yeah, because it was morning for a change, right? Rather than like usual 5 o'clock.
It came out earlier, definitely.
Yeah. When I saw the initial ESRB ratings boards announce it, I was like, oh, cool. That must be part of Uplay Plus, getting things ready. Oh, no, it's here you go. And it's very interestingly priced.
Yeah, I think the
interestingly
price
priced
is what got most people.
Yeah.
I would be, I think, hard pushed to think of many Stadia people in the community we know and we interact with who didn't buy this game in some way, shape, or form because it's a big title at such a sweet price point, and especially if you hadn't played it first time round, it's a bargain. Like even for someone who finished it, I at that price I was almost kind of like, as gamers we all know, you just if it hits that sweet spot. You'll get it regardless. You're like, yeah, I'll pick it up now, even just to play it later on because it's such a good deal.
I don't buy Ultimate Editions and stuff for games because I always find I never get to the additional content. I never really play a DLC for any game. I bought the Ultimate Edition because of just the value of it.
Sheer value.
But yeah.
How far have you played in it so far, Tom? Because you mentioned you've never actually played the game at all before.
No, and still, I also have not played that much into it so far. I booted up the game just to make sure that I don't know why, but for anybody who may have noticed already, but when you first boot up games on Stadia, you get this little the important notice window that you have to accept, but then that never comes up again. So I have this weird habit. I don't know why I've gotten into this routine of every game that I purchase, I just load up. just so it's sort of like registers on my account. It's some weird OCD thing that
Are you
I've got.
under the impression that if you don't agree to those terms and conditions,
No.
you'll somehow not be able to play the game?
Nothing of the sort. I just like to boot the game up, and then I'll usually sit there for like 2 minutes and go, don't want to play it right now. I'll play something else instead. Go back to Sekiro.
We've all been there. Don't worry about it.
I'm not worried. I'm not worried. I just feel like it's a weird habit that I have that I've only recently realized, because like buying games as they're coming out on Stadia, and recently, like I've been buying a lot of things on Stadia. I've realized quite recently.
I wonder if it's a throwback to like playing like PlayStation 4, when even if it's a game you're not planning to play straight away, you get the disc home, you put the disc straight in because you want to get that downloading, because it's going to take you a couple of weeks before you can play the game.
Maybe, but there's no real need for me to actually do it. But I do have this habit of thinking, like, I know that important notice message is going to come up, so I'm just going to load it up, get through that, close the game down, go play something else instead.
That's what I'm saying. It's almost like you want, like, when you buy a new PlayStation game, you want to get at least that first boot, so you know when I want to play, it's ready to go.
There, maybe.
Yeah.
Would you panic if the message wasn't there, Tom? If you build up a game and you're
Somebody's
like,
clearly
I need
accessed
to close it down. I've been hacked, like something like that.
Contact Stadia support, guys. The message didn't pop up. What's going on?
It's like the day the Stadia survey stops popping up after you close the game down. That's the day I start to panic.
Yep.
They don't want my feedback. They don't want to know if my experience was excellent.
I think they should just drop that. Does anyone just not click skip?
Yeah, it's becoming a bit like I do feel like after you've maybe answered 10 surveys, they should stop sending it to the same people, because I feel like after that point, people do just click it for the sake of clicking it. They're not actually giving feedback. They're just defaulting to get it out the way.
That's what I do with the Google Play stuff on my phone. I just go, don't just click anything.
The only time I ever give any feedback on it,
I still get my 15 pence.
Yeah, the only time I ever give any feedback on it is if I do have a negative experience. If I get like some visual blurring or something like that, then I'll just be like, nah, bad, send it off quick. Don't like it.
But it's just a straight up star rating. I don't think you're going to get any real feedback from that. You're not going to know why someone's rated it down or not, so it's kind of pointless.
That's true.
It's all Richie, so they can go to the not shareholders, but when they have their end of year reviews, they can say our customer feedback was 99.9% positive, because everybody clicks excellent stuff to get out of the way. It happens in every industry with NPS scores and stuff. So interesting to see. But yeah, the other game we haven't really touched on that much is FarCry New Dawn, which is it's the sequel in essence. So most FarCry games, they bring out a big title and then they follow that up, usually just short of a year or so later, using the same map, the same assets, and they kind of just revitalize them with a different environment. So in this case, it's post-nuclear, and there's kind of this pink flowers blossomed all over the island. It's a bit of a hallucinogenic, and the world's very much turned into like Mad Max esque Australia style shenanigans going on, and you get through back in, but they did tweak the mechanics a little bit more for New Dawn. So for example, the enemies all have hit points now, similar to the Division. So they're no longer like headshot kill. They all have like hit points, and the bosses have a higher level. So it does actually change the traditional Far Cry formula quite a bit, which some people enjoyed, some people didn't so much. They added in a little bit more base building mechanics, and very much tweaked it a little bit. If you're thinking about buying the two, it is the sequel to the story, so definitely I'd recommend playing Far Cry 5 first. It is, in my opinion, the better game, Far Cry 5. So if you're only going to drop your money down for one of them, 100% just go for the main installment in the franchise rather than the bit part. And then if you do it, it's in there. But I think most people jumped in and bought both just because of the price.
Well, the thing is, we keep alluding to the price, but we haven't actually stated what the price is yet.
It was that cheap, Richie. I didn't even consider it. I just went buy.
So the base version of Far Cry 5 is normally £39.99. The non-pro, it's on sale non-pro at $15.59, and it's on sale for pro members at $11.59. The Ultimate Edition, that's $53.99 normally, $26.99 for non-pro, and $15.11 for pro. So £15. And the prices are slightly higher for New Dawn, but it's like $16.79 for the Deluxe Edition for that. So there's pence in it.
Good prices all around then. Good prices all around indeed. So big games coming. My guess is we'll probably, by the looks of it, get some more Ubisoft games that they've announced. I wouldn't be surprised if this coming Tuesday we get some more ESRB ratings and then they drop in line just to get it all prepared, because I think
WatchDogs 1 and 2 maybe.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that would probably be.
It could happen.
A good
Could
one.
happen.
Certainly. That actually brings us on, interesting enough, to a WatchDogs story we've got for this week. Because the WatchDogs Legion, the game all about hacking, funnily enough, it appears to have been hacked itself. So IGN reports that the source code for WatchDogs has been hacked by a ransomware company. And again, apparently this happens quite often in the games industry, where they'll get hold of some code, they'll hold the developers at ransom for it, otherwise they'll unleash it to the world, and then I guess mods will jump in and alter the game, and they can bypass, I don't know, like maybe cheat protocols or something. But it's one of the more ironic stories, I think, of 2020, that the game all about hacking gets hacked.
I think the worrying thing is, especially for like online games, if this is quite routine, like they're getting hacked for the source code, what other information are they getting access to? And if you're playing like an online game, you've probably got things like your credit card details and stuff saved on the servers. It's like, do they have access to that?
No,
as well?
I think Ubisoft, they've not even acknowledged it officially in a statement, which leads to a lot of people thinking that it's that small of a hack that they're not concerned, and you'd like to think that, because again, if it was bank account deals, I think legally they have to come out and inform people of that in a press statement.
That's very true.
So I wouldn't worry about that. Funnily enough, though, the file size is apparently around 560 gigabytes for the whole entirety of WatchDogs source code, which that's a lot of. You wouldn't fit that on a PS5.
No, there's a lot of compressing going on there, isn't there?
Ooh, could you imagine the download time?
With the source code, there's probably going to be like hundreds of gigabytes, probably of things like unused assets and all sorts of stuff in there. And it's not going to be refined as much as the final release anyway. So there's
that is very true.
A lot of bloat.
The irony.
The irony, indeed.
We laugh.
But is anyone even playing Watch Dogs Legion? I know a few people in our Discord server spoke about it, but I mentioned it last week. I just feel sorry for this game because I've got an itch to play it, and I've watched a few Let's Play videos and series of a few people going through, especially people from London who are walking around. I know Lee, one of our patrons, he's having a blast, but he said he keeps getting distracted by all the landmarks he recognised, and I feel like I would be exactly the same. As soon as I clock something
where he's not being able to walk around London, he's now able to walk around London.
Yeah, I honestly think it would be quite nice to walk around somewhere familiar, albeit in a digital world, but I've not been to London
Wait till Valhalla, Chris, and you can go around York.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Just see if I can see anything familiar. We'll
fantastic.
See. We'll see. Wonder if my house will be there. It's not that old. But Watch Dogs again, we'll see. I will get to it. I 100% have the intention of playing it, but I'm being a responsible adult this time around. I'm watching my money and purchases more carefully.
I'm being honest. I don't think I'm ever going to get round to it. Nothing to do with the game, but I think by the time I'll have time to play that game and got past everything else I want to play, I think it'll just kind of forgotten about it.
Yeah, and Cyberpunk may even be out by then, Richie.
Nah.
Maybe.
Is there a chance? Do we feel that Cyberpunk doesn't come out this year?
No,
we didn't really touch on it, but the
delays are getting shorter and shorter each time.
I agree with Richie with that. I think the delays are getting shorter and shorter, which means they must be right on the threshold of being able to release it now. The only reason they really sort of delayed from November 19th, to 10th of December is because of the fact that they just need to polish and fine tune some final things. If they still had more to do, I don't think it would have been in the consumer's best interest for them to have just put a little bit of a delay. They should have been really honest and forthcoming with it.
It's probably been like one or two issues have come up at the end of like QA, and it's like, let's go back and say, how long will you need? Probably 2 weeks. So we'll give you a month just to get them sorted to make sure.
Yeah.
So then, where do you guys sit on the fence with them coming out just before the delay and saying the game had gone gold? Because if you're going to come out and announce that, then that's surely like the game is ready, it's playable in its finite form, and you're happy with it. So then,
going gold is when effectively it goes to print out the discs.
True, but
we all know if day one patches exist.
But
again,
is it not? Is it not going gold? Is that not a reference to how many sales they've had, like pre-order sales?
No,
That's how I understand it to be.
No,
it's
I think
printed.
it's just literally just means basically the game is printed.
The
discs
the
already.
version on the disc without any day one patches is playable from start to finish in a
Right,
form of,
okay,
So
okay.
so I've not looked into this.
You learn something new.
A few of the podcasts I listen to, they've referenced this, that there's only 3 other games in history that were ready to go. One of them was like an NBA game, which I think got pulled entirely. And reviewers at like IGN and other sources actually had a copy of the game to play in the review. And then I think, was it maybe an EA or 2K who then came out and said, it's not going on sale, and the game did not exist. It was not put out to the public, which is crazy to think it was finished to that point for review. So it was that bad. And I think there's been 2 other games which I can't remember. They weren't that big titles. This is only like the 4th or 5th that's gone gold finished, and then been pushed back again. So with a further delay.
Yeah.
So it's very unheard of.
Yeah, but we know how much CG Project Red care about the product. They're not going to want to push a subpar product. So I don't think it's going to affect anything about the discs going out to vendors and stuff. It'll just be the tweaks to the day one patch that they're working on.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like all of these like extra delays in conversation, unfortunately they can't be doing CG Project Red any benefit. Like, they're going to miss out on Game of the Year, which we discussed last week, and then how many more time, like how much goodwill do they garner from The Witcher? Because let's face it, they've not put out that many games in their history. All this goodwill is garnered from the success of the amazing game that is The Witcher 3, which was a long time ago. This is a very much an unproven new IP, so it's an interesting one to watch. I'm still hyped for it, I'm still excited, but not as soon
I don't think they've
as
harmed the credibility just yet. If the game is good, I think they'll be fine. If the game is crap, then well,
that's it. Is there
story.
a possibility this game comes out and gets like 6s and 7s, and people go like, "Yeah, actually," and it runs
I can't see it
because they've said the PS4 and the Xbox One versions are what's holding the launch back, because they need to optimize it. We said last week that the Stadia version's finished and complete.
Yeah.
Interesting if they review this on like the last gen consoles and go, it doesn't run that smooth. It runs a bit choppy and frame rate's bad in a lot of areas, and too many enemies on screen and glitches and.
It's going to be interesting how the IGNs. You'd think at the current, like, because we're transitioning between console generations, they'll probably go, yeah, we played it mainly on PS5, although we did jump into the PS4 to see how the performance was like.
It's an interesting one to look at. I don't know how we got into another Cyberpunk conversation, but
it's not even on the agenda.
It's clearly big. But one thing you will be able to do when Cyberpunk comes out is play it across all of your family members in your Family Share account, because this week Family Share rolled out to Stadia. Finally, I know a lot of people in the community, a lot of our listeners out there have been crying out for this since it was announced. Tom, obviously you're super happy about this one. You've probably jumped in and had a fiddle around with it. Do you want to give us a breakdown of what Family Share does, what it is, and its limitations at this point in time?
Yeah, so imagine with like the current gen and prior to cloud gaming, you have a console at home, you have a disc, you sit down, you want to play a game, you get up, you leave the house, and your significant other or another family member wants to sit down. They can still play the same game because guess what? They've got the disc there. The same sort of concept now exists through Google Stadia, through Family Share. It's the idea that you can have multiple accounts. And you can have them all linked as part of a family. And as long as one of the accounts owns a game, everybody else within that family group can now play that game. There are some caveats. Only one person can be playing the game at any one time. Again, like having one copy of a physical game. You can only one person can play that game at any one time. You can't suddenly conjure up 3 extra copies of it from one disc to have like 4-player going on at a time. But it's just quite nice with something like Valhalla right on the horizon, because I know both I and Holly want to play that. She'll be able to play that with me only having purchased the game once. We don't now both have to buy the game, which previously we would have. So I can come back from work, I can sit down and play Valhalla, and when I go to work, she can sit down and she can play it on her own account on Stadia. So it's a fantastic thing. It's about time, because we have already put cash onto other games like Marvel Avengers. We would prefer not to have done that, but there wasn't a way around it. So it's really nice.
You can both play it together though, at least, because Marvel's Avengers very much centered around
yes,
two of
that's
you
very
jumping
true.
on. So if it was the one
Very
copy, you would be lost out on that one.
It's basically Stadia's way of getting parity with like basically physical consoles. Like, yeah, you have the disc. You can just give me the disc. I can then play.
Yeah.
That's it.
And it's
Yeah.
all,
It's just
all managed through just the Google Family Share account, like the Google Home app, is it, through there? Your Google account?
I believe, yeah. So at the moment, the only way you can actually sort of access it is if you want to set up your family settings, you do need to do it from a desktop. You can't do it from the mobile app yet, but it does link through to sort of like your Google account settings as opposed to Stadia account settings. So establish a family there. You have to allocate a Google Play sort of payment method as well. So unfortunately for me, that is now my bank card. So any purchases that come through on Stadia, either through my account or through Holly's account, will get billed to yours truly right here. So Holly, if you're listening to this, at least seek my permission first.
That's a bit of a downside. That actually, if you're having a family set up, and then someone on their own account wants to buy a game, but because it's your card, that's not great. They need to sort that out so you can have like. Basically, do you want to bill this to the family or do you want to bill it myself?
Yeah, but I think that feature does exist. I think just for the sake of having a family account, I think you have to nominate a default card. But I think Holly has her payment card associated to her Stadia account, so I would assume that she can still go through the Stadia store, buy a game using her card, but she will see the family card there as well, like you say.
Yeah.
Can you put restrictions on it? Like,
yeah, I was going to say there is parental restrictions.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, like you don't want your kids just buying anything. And then
you can also specify individual titles, either that or the entire library, as to whether they can share. I think they can either seek permission to play games from your family library, or you can just essentially open it.
All right, so it sounds quite well thought out then.
Yeah, there's parental controls, and there is an option when you sign up to it. It's got automatically share everything, so you can unshare specific games at any time, or you've got don't share automatically, so you need to either you need to share each game individually in the store. So a lot of controls there, and I think again, like I said, this just gives parity with the traditional consoles, and it's no different than on my place. And yeah, you've got to change the PlayStation to your main console, because I have too. I've got one of the games from up here as well. And yeah, to play digital games on that, I need to register this is the main one to be able to. Other than they have like a little padlock which annoyingly grays out the game, and it's like I own it. It's literally downstairs, but I have to go and get the physical disc to come up and put it in, and it's a whole rigmarole. So
I did a workaround for that for a while. I actually set my dad's PlayStation to my main one, because that way anything on my library I could just download to my dad's account. My dad could just have access because it was on his PlayStation, but I had access to my account and mine, so I had access to my full library.
I do remember there were ways to cheat the system.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
People do that. We've got some friends who do that all the time with their other halves and stuff, because it's just who wants to buy a game twice, right?
Yeah, very true. But it's just nice now that we're actually finally getting these sort of like, I won't call it an integral feature, but it's sort of like a quality of life feature that, it's been talked about for a long time. It has been mentioned, or it's been like subtly referenced in different things, but now we finally got it. It just makes me a little bit more hopeful that we're getting other things soon that we essentially are still waiting for.
Great segue, Tom, because that brings me on to my next story, which the long-awaited, rumoured story that BioWare and Mass Effect, it got dropped today on is it N7 Day? Is the celebration?
N7 Day, 7th of November.
So we got the announcement that Mass Effect Legendary Edition is coming out from EA early next spring, potentially delayed. Because that's how any game announcement now I just take with a pinch of salt that it'll be pushed back a little bit. I saw yourself, Tom, a lot of our friends like Brian and stuff in the community really, really excited about this. No mention of Stadia, but again, we mentioned pre-show that I think it's safe to say Stadia now, all these big titles we should be discussing under the impression that they are going to be coming eventually. I think it was ignoring the story and just going about, but well, they didn't say Stadia, so we're not going to talk about it. Seems like a foolish move, because we don't know what EA's plans are for Stadia, and we want to go in with the positive thought process that every big game will be coming in the future. They may not finalise that deal yet, but fingers crossed.
I think with Mass Effect especially, it's something that and every time we've done a list of what games would you like to see come to Stadia, like a Mass Effect remastered trilogy has kind of been really up there. I know for one, it's the games that I've never played, but I've always been told that I need to play. So I'm pretty excited about this news, because this is, I've always said, right, if they bring out a remastered trilogy as a single package, that's my way to play them.
I'm exactly the
Yeah.
same as you, Richie.
Yeah.
And Mass Effect is one of those franchises that I think anybody who is a sci-fi fan must experience, because the storytelling, the characters, the world building is just beautiful. There is nothing quite like Mass Effect. I remember sitting on playing Mass Effect a long time ago. Like, I didn't actually play the first one until the second one had nearly came out. I went through and I played the shit out of the first one, 100%ed. Played on Xbox 360, actually, of all things, and got the got all the achievement points for that. It is a beautiful game, and I feel like I might have to call on the Stadia army here, because obviously it's a BioWare game.
Call to arms, guys. It's call to arms.
It's published by EA. I think we need to sort of. I mean, I desperately want to see this on Stadia. Like, I desperately want to, because this is going to make or break my decision as to what I do next in terms of a console. And if I want to stay Stadia specific and sort of not really delve into the next generation, I need to see this game on Stadia. So the way I see that is twofold. Number one, we need to reach out. We need to let Stadia know that we want to see this game. Number two is we know that the first title by EA that is coming to Stadia is Jedi Fallen Order. So once again, as a sci-fi fan, as a Star Wars fan, we need to show this support. Like, I'm getting out there. I'm buying Jedi Fallen Order as soon as it comes out. I know there are people sitting on the fence who've bought the game already and played it. I know, Richie, you said that before. But again, I'm such a firm believer in this technology and such a firm believer in wanting to see the library grow that I am willing to pay that extra bit out to get these games. But I'm not shelling out to give extra money to EA just for the sake of it. Like, it needs to be priced right. It needs to be priced right.
I'm 100% with you, and the only reason I'm not buying Jedi Fallen Order again, despite the fact that I do want to encourage that and I want to support the developers, is just my own financial situation. I can't justify the purchase.
Well, that's completely fair, but I know there are people within the Stadia ecosystem who haven't played Jedi Fallen Order before. And if those people are also interested in Mass Effect, now more than ever is the time to actually get ready to buy Jedi Fallen Order, because it is such. I cannot wait. I seriously cannot wait for Legendary Edition. I'm so excited.
So
now, I'm assuming this is a remaster, not a remake.
I was just going to say they've came out. They've been a bit vague a little bit on what it is. So just to be clear, this is the original first 3 games. It does not include Andromeda, which is already out on current gen, and then I guess it's forwards compatible, backwards compatible with PS5 and Xbox Series X.
But it does include all of the DLC.
So
it's all 3 games, all 3 of the original trilogy, plus all of the DLC. Updated graphics, better frame rate, higher resolution. The actual models themselves have been improved. They
haven't recreated the textures. They're just getting the best out of what they had already made, probably.
In a roundabout way, but my understanding of what they say is that they have said that they have updated the graphics for the characters as well. So new textures, new shaders, new models, new effects and technical features of the games.
All right,
is what's actually being discussed.
Yeah, because I have seen a few other people who've said, so their quote was, "Our goal was not to remake or reimagine the original games, but to modernise the experience so that fans and new players can experience the original work in its best possible form." Which I've seen a few people go, the original may not hold up that great, so I'm very intrigued to see what this kind of not remake, not reimagine looks like. Is it something similar to the Master Chief Collection on Xbox, where you can flick between the original version and the modernized version, and you can see the quality of textures and such change, like on the click of a button, which is it's fantastic to see, and how bad that used to look.
There is graphically a notable difference between Mass Effect and Mass Effect 2. Like, there is a huge difference visually.
I mean,
between
when
the
did
two
one
games.
come out? You must be talking 2005, 6.
Oh, probably. I feel like I remember people talking about it before I left school. Yeah.
Back in the
I
old
want to perhaps
days.
say maybe like more towards 2007 or 2008.
November the 20th, 2007.
Okay.
So they're gonna have to do something to reimagine this game, because what I would not want to see as someone who's not played them is jump into the original. It hasn't been modernized to that extent where it then sours me to push through to get to the newer games. which I think some older complete titles do suffer from sometimes. So I know a lot of people were like, I would have appreciated a full remake, but I don't think EA look at the EA again testing the waters. I think with this, they've came out and said before they're not that focused on doing remakes and remastered. Then we got a random Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Burnout. Sorry, it was a Burnout we got that nobody, I don't think, not many people were asking for that I know. And then now they're dipping their toes into this because I think of the fan pushbacks. You're totally right there, Tom, and saying if we give them enough reason to, they probably would look at supporting it. So I, like Richie, am very intrigued by this. But back to purchasing decision, Stadia. If this isn't on your platform, I'm just going to get it on my PS5. Then therefore you've lost £40-50 money because of that, because you've not got a big title on your platform.
Yeah, like I don't think I can emphasize. Yeah, I don't think I can emphasize it enough that this has a die-hard fan base. Like, this has a fan base that will buy the game. Like, those who played the original trilogy will buy this again.
It's kind of peak BioWare, to be honest, this trilogy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I kind of feel like after this trilogy, BioWare kind of dropped down a couple of notches in terms of the quality games they're producing. I know I'm a big fan of the Dragon Age series. Dragon Age Origins is one of my favourite games of all time. 2 and 3 kind of suck. I was like... And it's like, I just want to see BioWare back to their best. So if this
it's sort of like defined. Yeah. It defined the genre of like having these like RPGs with moral choices as part of it, and they had the very sort of like definitive systems. In Mass Effect, you've got like the Paragon or Renegade, so like either the good or the bad decisions you make, and it impacts the story. Yes, there was some negativity about what that ultimately led to with the final ending of Mass Effect 3, but the system was still fantastic to sort of like carve your own story. And this is sort of like pre-Telltale Games times.
Yeah, interesting stuff to keep an eye on. I do have a quick question. On the legendary trailer that they put out, where's Commander Shepard?
So Shepard is you can also pick to be either a male or female Shepard. So that helmeted character that you see is the sort of like the embodiment of Shepard, because it's the idea that it could be the male or the female version.
Okay, I did not know that. I knew you had choices, but I feel like was the canon story always the male version? Because I feel like that's what I've seen on box art and game posters and trailers and stuff.
Yeah, I think because of a sort of like change in landscape and so on, they want to move a little bit further away from like the male icon for it, because a lot of people did select Femme Shep as like their main character, and I mean at the end of the day, voiced by Jennifer Hale as well. Like you can't ask for any sort of like quality female voice actress out there too. So. Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, well, there you go.
It's a kind of RPG where you embody the character. The character is your own, rather than you're something like a God of War where you're playing a discrete character.
Mm-hmm. Discrete character, some would say.
A discreet.
And then that brings us on to another EA title, which we're going to discuss, because me and Richie in particular have some strong feelings about this game. So we learnt this week from an EA quarter earnings report, not only about the Mass Effect news, because they did launch that and announce it, but in a quote from their their internal statement, I guess, EA Sports will be executing on a significant expansion that will span new games, more geographies, and more ways to engage. FIFA is growing, in addition to FIFA 21 on next gen this year, and Stadia in the new year. The success of our FIFA Online, blah, 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 blah. Why do you hate Stadia, EA? Why do you hate Stadia so much?
Well, I don't think EA hates Stadia. I think they just like money, and the Stadia player base is just nowhere near as big as other platforms. And unfortunately, it means it's a lower priority. We've talked about this in terms of big developers prioritizing certain consoles over others, just where they're going to make the more money.
Yeah.
It sucks as somebody who likes Stadia and really, really wanted FIFA 21 on Stadia. That's the reality of business.
Yeah, so let's be clear. They did come out initially and they said winter, and it's such an ambiguous thing, winter. We know that's why a lot of game companies say the holiday season, because then people just presume it means before Christmas. Yeah. The winter, depending on what country you're in, can be very different. If you're in Australia, it's peak summer right now. You're having a great time.
Winter is typically considered to be like December, January, February.
Yeah, but a lot of people think winter just means up until Christmas, because it's the winter season, it's Christmas, and then the New Year is a whole different kettle of fish. But in terms of the game coming, that means if we're getting an early New Year, that can be anywhere January, February, we presume now, as winter dictates. Yeah. Is that too late for you, Richie? Like, I don't know about you, but I'm now thinking, like, it's halfway through the bloody season now for again, us over in the UK, the British Premier League and stuff. That's almost wrapping up come March time. So
I want... At the start of every new Premier League season, that's when I'm most excited about football. And that in the end, I want a new FIFA game to coincide with that. I don't want it at that like kind of mid-season lull where I just kind of occasionally just checking the scores to see how teams are doing, and that's about it. And so, they've missed the boat for me on this one. I'm not buying this game now.
Yeah, I think, Like, my only saving grace is the MLS season kicks off in like the early New Year time. So it's like, boys in blue.
There is one way I will buy this game if it comes out about maybe £20 or something, and it's a bargain. But it's not going to be, because if you've ever bought FIFA, you walk into a brick and mortar store, you look at FIFA, and the current game, right up until the new game comes out, will be a holder's price, and then it just goes in the bargain bin.
100%.
So this is going to be a $60 game, I reckon.
I suppose we'll find out when Jedi Fallen Order drops later this month, and if that comes out reasonable, we have hope. If it comes out full price,
I think that's it's a very different proposition, because an annual franchise like FIFA has a time limit on when you're going to realistically be playing it.
Yeah.
So you're going to be playing this probably up until late summer next year. That's your time window. Then you're interested in the next one.
Yeah, and it goes back to our conversation then about like supporting titles, Tom, because like now I very much feel like when this game does come out in, say, late January, my appetite for playing a game that's very much seasonal based, like literal, if they do a season pass, like football is literally created of seasons. It's the ideal partnership, and yet we know, and for those who again enjoy football and soccer, Pro Evolution Soccer and Konami have switched to the model of a seasonal pass. You buy the game and they will be adding the rosters and the teams and the kits in on a yearly basis once you've acquired just the base game. FIFA should, it ideally, sport lends itself perfect to a games as a service title, because it's the whole model of the sport is based on that.
Maybe every 4 or 5 years when you switch to an upgraded engine or something, that's when you bring out a new base title. Like,
but if they're just rehashing, it begs belief really as to why they do it, apart from it being literally a cash grab.
Yeah, it's like they make a shit ton of money. That's why. Yeah, every year.
Yeah, I mean, they said in their earnings report, we know it's all about money in an earnings report by title, and they make so much money off the FUT feature and the people buying like the digital cards and the games. Then it almost subsidizes it, and every year they still get like FIFA. Let's not be foolish. FIFA still beat out WatchDogs for the top selling game in the UK these past few weeks. So that's a brand new AAA title from Ubisoft getting beat out by a rehashed sports game every year. That's how big football is in Europe. It's crazy.
We've always talked about the more casual gamer who kind of just buys your Call of Duties or your FIFAs or your Maddens every single year, and that's their gaming. And that's why I said FIFA is a perfect thing for Stadia, because if you're the sort of person maybe every other year you buy a FIFA game, do you want to drop 500 quid on a new console occasionally?
Exactly.
But I don't know.
And I do think as a casual gamer, they've missed the boat, because everyone's already bought it on PS4, PS5, Xbox by now. So come January, February, them casual gamers, they've already got the game. So
what I'm hoping here is when it comes out, the game's probably already been out 3 or 4 months. So it's probably not going to sell great on Stadia. I hope EA don't look and go, well, it didn't sell on Stadia, therefore there isn't a market for this game on Stadia. Rather going, no, you picked a stupid release date for your game, that's and that hammered your sales on that platform.
It's almost like they're trying to sabotage it themselves so they don't have to, which I really hope it's not that sort of like anti Stadia propaganda sort of mentality. Really.
I don't think it's anything malicious like that. I just think it's more apathy towards the platform. Yeah, we'll bring it over the platform. There's probably an audience there, but we're going to focus on. And this year's probably been the worst year to bring a FIFA to Stadia because they're developing for about 5 or 6 platforms instead of like 3.
Yeah.
Because they'd be developing for the PC, Xbox series, the Xbox One, the PS4, the PS5. Then you've got the light version on the Switch.
Yeah.
There's a lot of platforms they're developing for simultaneously.
100%.
Where in a couple of years' time, or even last year, it would have just been PC, Twitch, Stadia, Xbox, PlayStation.
Yeah, and the turnaround of these games, the studios are very much trying to get a yearly iteration out, and we know how game quality has suffered year on year from other titles because it's you don't a 12-month, not even 12-month cycle. You don't have that long to basically iterate year on year, which is why I think with FIFA it tends to go through the modes of 1 year the game's much more harder to be an attacking team, and then the next year they flip it, and then it's hard to be a defensive team. Just so year on year it feels different. Because the way the game flows is flipped just to make you feel like you bought something new. Oh, this year feels a lot different. It's not really. They've just flipped it so it's harder to defend than it is attack this year. So for the entire last 12 months you've been enjoying it, it feels like a stark change. But again, there's only so much you can iterate on a sports title. The game doesn't really change that much. But speaking of games that do change, we got some more stealth drops on Stadia this week as well. In and amongst all the FarCry news, we got Ari and the... Ari? And the Secret Seasons from Modus Games dropped on Stadia. Tom, you were probably the most excited for this particular title, I think, than we were. In and amongst all this busy, bustling gaming news, have you picked it up, or is the price too much for you on this one?
A little bit of a few factors here. So no, I haven't picked it up yet. A, because of the price, but B, because upon considering the price, I decided to take to the internets and do a little bit of research on this, and it's not getting the most stellar reviews. It's sitting around about the 6 out of 10 marker at the moment, and it's mainly because what it seems to be is incredible concept, but plagued with glitches and issues at the moment. And it's also plagued with a relatively empty world, so it's almost like they've tried to do a lot of world building and creating large environments to be able to navigate, but not really populating it very well. So it's a game that I've made the decision to sort of sit on the back burner. It was in the £30 bracket, so it's actually akin to a higher price title, really, at $34.99. So at the moment, for me, it's a pass, but I'll wait and see if the price drops.
Richie, how about yourself?
I'm in the exact same as Tom. It's like it's a game I'm interested in, but the price is like, okay, I need to do. It's not just something like 15 quid for Far Cry where I'm just going to go, yes, take my money, I'll have this game. It's the one where I go, okay, that price it's probably not unreasonable, but I want to see what the reviews are saying. And also it's just how congested this time of the year is for the games. It's like I don't have infinite money. We've got things like Christmas that I'm saving up for. And then there's things like Cyberpunk I've got pre-order. We know we've got Valhalla dropping. We've got Immortals Phoenix Rising. So it's also just a time proposition. When will I play this game?
And I do actually think the validity of Stadia now is becoming apparent to the same thing that happened with the Switch, where early doors, every gamer was clambering to play any game that dropped on Stadia. Just like the Switch, the indie games were huge on Switch, and developers were coming out saying their games were selling like 100% over what they were selling on the other platforms, just because the virtual eShop was so small. Your game stood out massively. So I think something like this coming out maybe a year ago, well, not a year ago because Stadia was now, but you know what I mean. Like last year would have flourished a lot more. I think dropping that £30 now in and amongst titles like Far Cry and Sekiro for less, if not similar prices. That's like if you can pick up a game like Sekiro or Far Cry for similar or a massive amount less, your decision making is like okay, especially with average reviews, like you were saying there, Tom.
100%. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the prices of Sekiro compared to this, Sekiro was cheaper than Ari and the Secret Seasons. So for me, right there, it's a no-brainer which one I'm going to put my money into. But you're absolutely right. If you harken back to the days where we were essentially chomping at the bit for new games, with titles that came out back then, like Spitlings, for example, we were jumping all over that when it first came out because the library was so bare at that point. I think we're far past that point now where people were saying like, indies would flourish on the platform because quite frankly, we've now got the games and people are now sticking to games on a platform.
Yeah, it's like I remember when they first announced, like I was quite excited for this game. This looks like a really good game. I'm kind of excited to play it. It's just it's literally just a time proposition. When will I have a chance to play this game? And if I can't see a window anytime soon, I'm probably going to hold on to my money for now.
Yeah, and I, like many people, many of our listeners and viewers, was personally waiting for you to buy it, Tom, so then it would inevitably become a pro game next month.
Yeah.
So now you're
Speaking
not
of
buying it. Does this just mean that it's not a pro game? Have we lost out, ladies and gentlemen? Is Tom done
I
his
don't really
daily?
think. I don't really think it's the right price point for it to be a pro game. However, we did
it's
get another game
if it
dropped,
doesn't
did
get
we
the
not?
sales.
We
Yeah.
did indeed.
Oh, yeah.
What was that game, Tom?
Little Big Workshop, which like on the flip side of what I just said about Ari and the Secret of Seasons, this is getting some incredible reviews. So it's essentially, for anybody who wants a little bit of information about Little Big Workshop, it's a factory sim game, akin to, the likes of Theme Hospital and so on, but building, it's a factory builder. However, it happens essentially on your dining room table or in in a little bench in your garage or something like that. The idea is that you've got little workers who come to work in your workshop on your table. Think of it like Santa's elves, if you will.
Yeah. So this game. So watching the trailer, you're totally right there. I have two vibes. They're both Pixar. It reminds me of Toy Story because everything's happening on the table, and it reminds me of Up because all the characters look like that squashed down little person.
Quite rounded.
Yeah, and then I have Sims vibes from it as well, like creating your factory and building and going to work, and everyone's got their own little busy worker bee hats going on. Like you said, it all happens like miniature, like micro machine style on your table. From THQ Nordic and Handy Games, which we know about. Where did this game come from? Because I saw this week, and I don't recall it being announced or an ESRB thing. It just appeared out of nowhere.
Absolutely did. It absolutely did. I have to say as well, you were talking or joking previously about Ari and the Secret of Seasons being potentially a pro game. This game I have purchased at the nice price of around about $17.99. This is one that I would expect to see as a pro game now as well.
I'm predicting January.
I genuinely do think that this is going to be one of our pro games for the future. I think it's a game that a lot of people will love to play as well, particularly if you are like me and you loved titles like Theme Hospital and Theme Park and stuff like that. Or even if you're even if you're into for other people who are really into their factory sims like Satisfactory and Factorio on Steam as well, this is the kind of game you want to be buying for that price right there and getting into. It's just
something
fun.
kind of relaxing and addictive about simulation games. I know I played a lot of Civ 5 after Humankind, the Humankind demo went away, because I was just in the mood for that. I'm just going to sit here for 9 hours and do nothing.
Just manage resources.
Yeah,
that's all you do.
Move that a little bit, then I need to make that base, build this new wall or something. But
100%.
They are cool, fun games to just get sucked in.
It does look like there's something just satisfying about managing, I guess, your work output, your builders contracts and upping their pay and altering how their output is and their toilet breaks and their lunch break schedules and doing.
It's ironic when you actually go to work, you hate doing that shit.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. The best part of The Sims was building the actual house and putting your units and your bed and your TV where you wanted, and then when it got to the real part of having a job and earning money, it was like, I'm out now. I've lost the interest a little bit. But a Little Big Workshop, I'd be really intrigued to know what the legalities with Sony were from the title Little Big, because Little Big Planet is one of their trusted exclusive IPs. So Little Big Workshop, it lends itself quite well.
It depends what the trademarking is. If the trademarking's on the whole Little Big Planet, then it's probably fine.
Yeah, I'm sure that they probably I do feel like they named this aptly to kind of make, because it does have that cute fantasy style to it that is akin to Sackboy and his crew. But it looks great. Nice surprise drop. A little bit different from your FarCry game. A little bit more whimsical and resource management style, but exciting nonetheless. And as we know now, Tom's bought it. It'll be a pro game in the coming months. So stay tuned.
You're welcome.
And that's so funny if we see that trend continue. Speaking of other games, which in my opinion would go pro, we also got a announcement trailer and release date for. It's Phogs, isn't it? That's what it's called.
Phogs, yes, it's Phogs.
Phogs.
Say it as you see it. Say it as you see it.
Every time I do see it, I think it's something different though, because something tells me.
P-Hogs.
P-Hogs. So P-Hogs is dropping and coming out. I've lost it now. When did they say? December. It's December, right? December the something. 3rd.
Yeah, December
I want to say
something.
it's not even in the article.
Yeah, it's December 3rd. December 3rd. Yeah.
December 3rd, lovely. So that's the same day Immortals Phoenix Rising comes out.
It does. I think I
wonder-
know which game I'll be playing.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be an awesome
Probably Valhalla.
Immortal Phogs.
I don't know what my next purchase is going to be, actually. There's too many choices. I haven't settled on one yet.
It's all over the place. But more importantly, though, it's great to do the show and have games to talk about. Games. That's all we've done this week, really, speaking about games. So, to wrap up on the news, I wanted to talk about a non-game story. Just to desensitize us a little bit. Our good friend Jem over at Jem Stadia, go check out his channel if you've not done already. He's been doing some digging in the source code like he does. He's been getting down in the dirt with his little Fog friends and digging out some scoops, some gems, some would say. And his biggest reveal would appear that Stadia and Google are prepping Stadia for some iOS activity. So we know there's been a whole hoo-ha and shit going on behind the scenes with Apple and basically every gaming company under the sun, because they don't like Epic, they don't like Microsoft, they don't like Google. Sony and Nintendo don't seem to care about doing anything on iOS. But yeah, he's found some stuff in the source code that refers to iPhone, iPad, iOS, Safari, which can only lead to the conclusion that they're working on some kind of hotfix running through the Safari browser, it would appear. So the likes of Amazon Luna and GeForce Now currently run through Safari browser. It's not, I wouldn't say rocket science, but you've been able to do this on iOS for a while, whereas you basically add the Safari webpage bookmark to your home screen and it creates a little app icon. And it's just a quick link to the shortcut. And we know Stadia plays through a Chrome browser, so it's no surprise that this is a short fix. Hopefully, we'll get an official app long term once Apple.
It's probably something they've been working on for quite a while, but obviously it's a lot easier to get something working on Chrome when you have the actual entire source code at your disposal than when trying to get something on anything on iOS or Apple products. Apple like to control everything quite a lot, to control the whole ecosystem. So you have to kind of jump through hoops, which probably makes it a lot harder to develop even something like Stadia to get working on Safari smoothly.
Indeed.
Yeah. I think what supports it as well is that there's Stadia has actually also included a new video codec for its encoding and transmission process as well now. So I think that might also help get it enabled through the Safari browser as well, which tends to be a little bit trickier, a little bit more finicky to deal with. So I think by sort of like branching out into different video codecs, it might allow it to actually transition a little bit smoother. But yeah, I'm all for it. More people playing.
Beautiful. Well, it'll probably be up for about a month before Apple pull it down because you can buy games through it.
Something like that. It'll get sorted out. It's just a matter of time. Patience is a virtue at the end of the day. Yeah. So to wrap up the news, we'll go over to you, Tom, as per usual now, to take us through some of the final game updates of the week and things you should look out for on the games that you may already own.
Absolutely, Richie. I think you want to kick it off this week, don't you?
Yes.
Are we taking
so
turns,
Optimus,
are we?
We are.
Yeah. So Optimus Star is getting its Drastic Steps expansion. It'll include a new story campaign, 4 new scenarios, and a selection of new weapons and traps.
So I believe that is actually available as of right now.
It is for £7.99.
That's with, is it Maximilian, who's the guy I recall?
That's him.
The kind of fabled hero of a bygone era who's coming back to help destroy the orcs. And this is the one that was showcased in the Good Stuff event, if I recall.
It was.
Where they did show screen share in the trailer as well. There was a little clip where you were able to see, which they never referred to or mentioned or have discussed or brought up since then. But it does look like it's going.
We're not too far out from November 19th, so we'll wait and see.
Very true. Yeah. Is it
we can wait with bated breath.
So far, is only the Division that we've played that has showcased that, and they've not really.
And now Orcs Must Die.
Because we played
the Crew 2. There's a few Ubisoft games that do it. The Division, Ghost Recon, and I think the Crew 2.
So this is the first non-Ubisoft.
Yes, outside of Ubisoft.
Interesting.
Which would be quite nice because I actually think more titles should be doing it.
Yeah,
we haven't even talked about that for quite a long time, have we?
It's a sort of feature where anything cooperative and multiplayer, it lends itself so well because if someone is on like the comms and someone just goes, over here, and then you have a little window you can just have a glance at and go, I can head over there. That sort of thing.
They need help.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for Siege for it, really. But yeah.
It'd be awesome.
Anyway, Orcs Must Die 3, as Richie said right there. We also have news now that Assassin's Creed Valhalla is going to be on track on Stadia for a midnight rollout as well. So at 12:01 you'll be able to play that. We're still waiting for a pre-order for Valhalla on Stadia. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see that on Tuesday drop into the store, because we are getting very close now. Like, literally, actually, Tuesday would be too late because it's out on Tuesday.
Is it? Is it Tuesday? Oh.
Yeah, November 10th.
I thought it was Friday.
Tuesday.
Yeah, that makes more sense now.
I mean, if there's no pre-order bonus, there's no need to have a pre-order on Stadia, because there's no.
But if you want to be able to play it at midnight, I would like to be able to purchase it beforehand and then be like, oh, it's 12:01. I'm straight in there.
It's like one-click purchase on Stadia. You can just click done.
You could argue that.
It takes 30 seconds.
Have you guys seen the new ad campaign they've got going for the It's like be a Viking, live a Viking, everything something #Viking. And the advert where he addresses the camera direct when he gets out of the boat, and he's like, how do you control England? And he's like, make a good first impression. And then he talks it through like it's almost like a job interview, and realistically he's slaughtering people en masse and invading a country. I quite like it. It's quite quirky, and I did not expect that. Just think, look, conquer, like #like a Viking is going to be their go-to thing.
Love it.
But yeah, I'm super excited.
There
you go, pre-order now for the Way of the Berserker unique storyline, Richie. So there's a pre-order bonus that you can get elsewhere. So we presume Stadia just gets that anyway, because that's what's happened with other titles, right? We saw it with Windbound.
There's
Either that or it's
maybe
just not in the
it's just a
game.
different version.
Missed opportunity.
There's like a different version that you can just buy with it or something.
Interesting stuff. But yeah, I am excited for this one, to say the least. Probably one of my most anticipated games of the year, and I can't wait. The season is upon us, gentlemen. Games.
Well, by the time that this podcast comes out, it'll be midnight that same day. So just you wait. Not long to go now. Not long to go.
I've got to go to work. Well, not go, but do adult things before I can get around to playing it.
Games should come out on Thursday evenings, so then when you finish work on Friday, you're good to go.
Yeah, but time zones and shit. What's the final update of the week, Richie?
So, 10 more superstars are coming to WWE 2K Battlegrounds as part of a free update. They include big hitters like Goldberg, Batista, which are already out now because they came out on the November the 6th. On Wednesday, November 11th, you get an Eddie Guerrero, Lita, and Ultimate Warrior. And on November the 18th, you're getting Trish Stratus, Booker T, and Ruby Riott.
You can tell you're not a wrestler, Richie.
Yeah, I was going to say straight away. Trish, it's Trish Stratus.
But you know what? The worst part about this is this game has came and gone. I don't think anyone really cares about it anymore. Why were these not in it from the beginning? Come on, Goldberg and Batista.
It's a shame because
why is there's some great names.
It's
not like they're stacking it over months. It's like 2 weeks between.
Like, come on, these are legends, and why they require unlocking? Like, come on, Eddie Guerrero and stuff. Like, guys, just if you're going to put out the game, put all the goddamn superstars in there.
That's how much of a superstar he is.
Come on, why do I have to wait November 18th to play as Booker T?
Well, I don't know why. I don't get what I don't get what the staggered release is about. Just.
Chris, did you just John Cena again when it said Booker T?
He does that though, doesn't he? Booker T.
That's John Cena. You can't see me.
Booker T was like the five-time, and then he does the tornado thing. That's his move, right?
Right. Okay. I'm not getting into this wrestling shit again. No. I'm out.
You're out. Let us know in the comments below, or remind me behind after time what Booker T's thing is. I swear to God, he does something with his hand, and then he does his special spinneroonie. He does a spinneroonie move.
Spinneroonie.
He does. But just like you out there, you too can do a spinneroonie move right over to patreon.com/Sounds of Stadia and donate as little support or as much as you want if you're a big wrestling fan or if you're not. We don't really care either way. Head over there for as little as $1 or 79p. You can help support the channel and educate us on all important things surrounding Booker T and WWE Battlegrounds as well. Thanks for tuning in for episode 59 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. Don't forget to give the video a like and a subscribe down below. It really does help us out. Share it with your friends. And a massive, massive thank you to everybody who's tuned in for all of the content we've brought you over the last coming weeks. We should actually point out right now, we are working on things for the up-and-coming Stadia Super Saturday event that is taking place on the 21st and 22nd of November. We have a Sunday slot over the full weekend event, so we'll be popping up just before Stadia Cast at the 3 o'clock mark, gentlemen? 2 o'clock? 3 o'clock?
Yes, 3 p.m.
3 p.m. UK
3 p.m.
time, whatever that translates to stateside and the rest of the world. But we'll give you some more information next week on what we're looking at, because it does take place just after Stadia's birthday. So fingers crossed, we've got some exciting new games to play. Yeah. It may even be FIFA. It won't be FIFA. I don't know why I said that. But thank you once again for tuning in to the Sounds of Stadia podcast, episode number 59. My name's been Chris.
I've been Tom.
I've been Richie.
We've been Booker T. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great week of gaming. Have fun. Stay safe. See you soon. Goodbye.
Oh, yeah.
Bye.